Matcha is everywhere, but what makes it special? I'm a matcha addict who's on a mission to find out. Hey guys, it's Robin and welcome to the Science of Self-Care. On this channel we talk about health science, we talk about life philosophy, and we do a whole lot of self-care experimentation. I am so incredibly excited for today's video. I am coming to you from Narita International Airport in Tokyo, and we are about to embark on a beautiful matcha adventure. We're going to be doing a lot of eating of matcha, we're going to be doing a lot of drinking of matcha, and we are even going to go to a matcha tea farm to better understand where matcha comes from and also what makes it different than other types of green tea. If you don't know, matcha is a powdered form of green tea, but it's not the same as the type of green tea that you might find in a tea bag in your local grocery store. So we're gonna get to the bottom of all of that. We're gonna have so much fun. If you are a matcha lover like myself, or you just wanna learn more about matcha, then this is definitely the video for you. Let's get started. So I realized not that many people know that matcha actually comes from Japan, but even before it was introduced in Japan, powdered green tea was popularized in the Tang Dynasty in China. And then Zen Buddhists brought back powdered green tea to Japan, and it became a very important part of tea ceremony culture, especially way of the tea ceremonies, which are all about mindfulness and aesthetics, and every little detail matters. Even the way you open the door for your guest matters. Today, matcha is consumed worldwide, often in a much more casual context in lattes or desserts, and it's really become even more of a cooking ingredient. On this adventure, we are going to understand just how many things matcha goes well with and what it's been paired with in a culinary context, but I think most people around the world today consume it either for health benefits or the way that it makes them feel, which obviously is also related to health benefits. For me personally, I consume matcha every day because it gives me a very stable, smooth source of energy throughout the day. I don't have crazy caffeine crashes, I don't get caffeine headaches, I don't get the jitteriness or the anxiety that comes from consuming too much caffeine, and I also don't get the digestive issues that coffee sometimes causes for me. So I really love matcha as a functional ingredient in my life, and I have learned to also really crave and love the taste, and that's probably because it contains caffeine. Caffeine is a reinforcement drug. It reinforces our love and our yearning for everything related to it. So when I'm consuming matcha, I'm gonna basically learn to associate the taste of matcha, the smell of matcha, everything about the experience with the caffeine high. It's kind of the perfect package of a little bit of caffeine, a little bit of theanine, and a whole lot of stable energy that just, can you tell I'm addicted? I love it so much. Other health benefits, matcha is very rich in antioxidants, specifically catechins, which are antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, anti-carcinogenic. There's a lot of studies on green tea consumption and matcha consumption and how it relates to longer lifespan, improved disease risks, etc. But enough of me blabbing in this airport. Let's get out there, let's go on this adventure, and let's taste some delicious matcha. If you have matcha at home, grab a cup because you're gonna want some. Let's get started. This is the first matcha of the day. Cheers. This is the matcha to go to the matcha farm. Here we are at D-Matcha, a beautiful farm in Wazuka, Kyoto. Wazuka is a town in the mountains with 3,000 residents, the majority of which are tea farmers. Here, Daiki-san and his wife run a beautiful green tea empire, I will call it that, and they ship their products around the world, so I will be sure to drop their link down below. This is not sponsored or anything, I just genuinely want to support this tea farm. That is so good. Here you can see the difference in vibrancy of their matcha compared to a popular matcha ordered from Amazon. You can see how much brighter this is, which is a sign that it contains more antioxidants, it's higher quality, and it's also likely going to taste much better. And to preserve this freshness and color, you'll want to store your matcha with as little air as possible. So really squeeze the air out of your package, especially if you have a bagged package. And then you'll want to store it in the fridge to keep it cool and preserve the freshness and taste. Okay, so I'm getting way ahead of myself. Let's start at the beginning. Here are some baby tea trees and some full-grown tea trees. This is literally the best day ever. And tea trees are where green tea, black tea, white tea, oolong tea, all of the tea leaves come from. What makes green tea different from the rest is that it's steamed right when it's picked, which halts the oxidation process. So the other types of teas are actually allowed to wilt and wither before they're further prepared for tea. But even among green tea varieties, there are so many different kinds. There's roasted green tea, there's sencha, there's gyokuro, and of course, there is matcha, my favorite. I am obsessed with matcha, not just the way it tastes, the rich, full umami deliciousness, but also the way it makes me feel. Matcha contains high levels of an amino acid called theanine, and theanine actually has a similar molecular shape to glutamate, which stimulates our umami receptors, our savory taste receptors on our tongue. And this is why green tea can have a rich, savory, almost broth-like taste at times. It's almost a broth.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it really is.
What's notable about theanine is that it can cross the blood-brain barrier, and there are studies to support that it can influence our serotonin pathways, our dopamine pathways, and our GABA pathways. All of these are hormones that help us feel really good and calm and happy. So it's no wonder that I love it so much. It's truly a mood booster. Theanine can also attenuate the vasoconstrictive effects of caffeine. So normally caffeine causes our blood vessels to constrict and become smaller, which can result in worse circulation or even caffeine headaches. And theanine reverses this effect. So it keeps our blood vessels more dilated. Matcha actually contains more theanine than most green tea, and this has to do with the way that matcha is made. To become matcha, tea leaves need to be grown under shade for at least 20 days, if not more. And this shaded period protects the leaves from the sun, and because the leaves are deprived of direct sunlight, they actually produce more chlorophyll to compensate and still meet their photosynthetic needs. That's why matcha is especially rich in a beautiful green color, because the leaves have literally been deprived of sun. The shading also causes the leaves to retain more theanine, so all the benefits of theanine are actually exaggerated in matcha because it's been shaded. Now let's talk about the premium, most expensive forms of matcha. Premium matcha has actually more caffeine, and it's made from the highest quality top 2 tea leaves, as you can see here. 1 stem and 2 leaves, as Daiki-san told us. And it also is stone ground, and this is how you get that absolute finest powder that's going to result in a very smooth beverage once it's prepared. And lastly, premium matcha is also picked in the springtime. So leaves picked in the spring are the least bitter. They're the most premium, the most rich and soft. This is because the new baby sprouts that come out in the spring have a rich, nutritious soil. And this rich soil gives the harvested tea leaves a really nice taste, a more soft, tender umami taste. The strong sunlight in the summer causes leaves to become thicker and more bitter, so the tea and the matcha that's harvested in the summer is typically used for baking or sweets. It's less delicate. And then lastly, the autumn harvest doesn't have much complex flavor. This is often what's used in convenience store green tea, according to our lovely tour guides. Basically, the really cheap green tea has probably been harvested in autumn. We have been eating so many delicious matcha treats, and my favorite is by far this mochi matcha, which is essentially squishy rice dough made with matcha, very, very slightly sweetened, and then these are just completely doused, drenched, covered with matcha powder, and it is so, so good. Probably one of the best sweets I have ever had in my life. They're light enough that you could eat a whole box and feel completely fine. I say that because I did that and I did feel fine. You might feel a little buzzed though, because there is quite a lot of matcha on these bad boys. This trip has not only given me a newfound respect for matcha as a culinary ingredient and beautiful ceremonial drink that's historical to Japan, but it's also made me appreciate where matcha comes from, these farms, the people working behind the scenes to make it the absolute best that it can be, and how deeply this practice is steeped in tradition. Daiki-san here at D Matcha is actually quite a new matcha farmer. He's the first generation of his family to create a tea farm, but many farms in Japan are tens of generations old, so it's crazy that this has historically been such a specific practice that is passed down through the generations in single family lines, so detail oriented, so consciously performed, and I think it's very beautiful. So we're now gonna do a matcha tasting, and we're trying 3 different matcha varieties grown here on the property. They all have different flavor profiles based on how long they've been shaded and when they've been picked. This one was my personal favorite. It's very rich in umami, savory flavors, but it's not that bitter. It's so good. So here I have a last little treat, some vegan matcha chocolates. Oh, dat is zo lekker. Wow. This one is really nice and bitter, and it gets increasingly sweet. I would love to know your thoughts on matcha. Are you as obsessed as I am? Do you drink it every day, or do you despise the taste? Share your thoughts with us down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.